Hello friends, welcome to my channel Power BI Skills. Through this channel, I share with my viewers a lot of tips, tricks and best practices in Power BI which will help in developing stunning dashboards. In today's video, I'm going to share an amazing trick of converting your simple bar visual to a Gantt chart. Friends, if you have ever had exposure on project management or if you have participated in the projects, then you must be aware of the Gantt chart showing the timelines of all milestones of the project. There are several ways of creating Gantt chart visuals in Power BI. We also have some third-party custom visuals available in Power BI. But in today's video, we'll create an effective Gantt chart visual through a magical trick of transforming bar visuals to a Gantt chart visual. Before we proceed further, I would request you to like and share my videos in case you believe you are gaining benefits through these videos. In case you are new to my channel, then I would request you to subscribe to my channel. This would motivate me to create more such useful contents for my viewers. Thank you, and let's get started. This is the simple dataset I have showing the status of ERP implementation project, the different milestones in this project, their start and end date, and the duration and the completion status for each of the milestone. Let's upload this dataset in Power BI. This data is uploaded in Power BI. Now I'll first go to the report view and first I'll create a new table which is a calendar table with the DAX functions. For that I'll go to modeling. I'll click on write a DAX expression to create a new table. I'll name this table as calendar table. I'll use the DAX function add columns and then I'll use calendar function and I will add the dates. So I'll create the calendar with the starting date 1st January 23 till 31st December 23. So I'll write in the format 2023 comma January comma day 1 and I'll again add the date which is the end date 2023, then last month which is December and 31st which is the last day. I'll add another column for year. I'll write column name as year, comma. Then I'll use year DAX function and then I'll be using the date which we have calculated above. I'll add another column for month. I'll write this as month number and I'll use the formula for month and mention the date which we have calculated above. I'll also use the month in month name as well. For that I'll use the column name month and here I will use the format DAX function and here I would write date and then I'll give the format of month which is MMMM. So this will give me the name of the month. I'll add the quarter number. For that I will prefix the quarter number with Q so that I'll first enter Q alphabet ends, and I would enter the quarter formula or quarter function, quarter, and the date reference. And at the end, I will write the week name, or I would say day's name. For that, I will write week, comma. I'll use the format function, and then I will give the reference of the date we have calculated above and the format, which is in DDD. Okay, so now our calendar is ready. Now you can see that calendar table is appearing on the right hand side. If we go to the data view, go to calendar, you can see the calendar is appearing here. Let's move on to the second table, which is sheet 1. I'll rename this table as ERP project. I will add a new column. So here I'll be calculating the project start date. We have the start date available for all the milestones of the project. From the start date, which is the earliest start date, or which is the start date of the first milestone, that would be my project start date, or I would say project beginning date. So I'll name this column as project beginning date, and here I will write the formula calculate minimum. So which is the minimum of all milestone start date would be my project start date. So here I would be using the start date column, and I will be using all function because there are filters available. Filters are applicable in all these rows. So I'll have to first remove all the filters. I will use the function all, and I'll give the reference of the project. So now you can see that project beginning date is appearing as incorrect. Reason, because we have not linked our ERP project table with the calendar table. We'll first link the ERP table with the calendar table. For that, I will go to the data modeling or a model view, and here I will drag the start date to the calendar date to build a relationship. So once I build the relationship, you can say we are getting error in the column which we have created. So I'll have to recreate the column. So I'll be using the same formula, but now ERP project start date, and then I will again use all, and I will give the reference of the ERP project table. Now you can see the project beginning date, which is 2nd of June, which is correctly appearing here. So this is 2nd June, which would be my project beginning date. Now let's move on to the report view and start creating our bar visual first. I'll go to new visual. I'll select the stacked bar visual. In y-axis, I will add project milestones. In x-axis, I will add duration of the project. In tooltips, I will add start date. I'll change this to start date from earlier start date, which is appearing by default. So this is my bar visual, and let me just sort these bar bases start date. uh, it should be in ascending order. uh, okay, so now you can see all these milestones are starting from 0, which is the project beginning date, which is incorrect. So the milestones have different start dates. So bars should be shifted basis their start dates. So let's say the start date of resource alignment and hiring is 2nd June, which is correct. So that should be started from 0. But the start date from the next milestone, which is data validation and cleanup, is 4th of June. It should be 2 days after the first milestone. So this should be shifted by 2 days. For that, we'll have to calculate how many days we have to shift each of the milestone bars. That will be calculated by calculating the difference between the project beginning date and the individual milestone start date. So from that difference, we'll have to shift these bars. For that, we'll go to our data view. We'll create a new column. I'll name this as bar shifting days. So that would be my the start date of each of the milestone minus the project beginning date. So ERP project start date minus ERP project beginning date. Since these two are dates, our output would also appear in date, but we need the output in numbers, or whole numbers, or I would say integers. For that, I will use integer formula and hit enter. So now we have number of days our bar will be shifted for each milestones. I'll go to report view. I will add data, and now I will add the new column, which is a bar shifting days, to x-axis. Now you can see the bar shifting days column is appearing in blue, and then in dark blue the duration is appearing. I'll now simply go to the format. For that, I'll go to view, and I'll go to bars, and I'll change the color of bar shifting days to white. Okay, now we have a Gantt chart visual in the raw form, which is appearing. We'll have to do formatting. For that, I will first remove the legends. I'll go to title, change the title to ERP project status report. Increase the font size to 20, bold this, and align this to the center. I'll go to y-axis and I will bold the values. Similarly, I'll go to x-axis, change the title to duration, number of days. I'll bold this. Similarly, bold the values of x-axis. I'll remove the grid lines, add the zoom slider. In zoom slider, I would also enable the tooltip. I'll add visual borders. For that, I'll go to size and style and enable the visual borders. Now I have to incorporate the status bar for today's. If we have to highlight today's status, for that we'll have to add a status line for today. For that, I'll have to create a new measure. I'll go to data. I'll create a new measure. Name this as today's status. So I'll use the today function, today minus the project beginning date. So that would be my calculate minimum, then my ERP project start date, comma, all, and then ERP project. Now again, these two are dates. I need the number, whole number. So I will convert this to integer. Today's status show the number of days from the project beginning dates. So if we calculate today minus the project beginning dates, how many days we have spent on the project would appear. So now we'll have to add this to our visual. For that, I'll go to format. I'll go to reference line. I'll click on add line and type would be the constant line. So once I type the constant line, then I have option to use the function. Here I'll be using my today's status measure. Okay, so this is the status as of today, or I would say this is the line showing the today's date and showing the milestone status as of today. I would also change the name of constant line to today, and I would also change the color to, let's say, purple, and instead of dashed line I would mention solid line. I'll enable data label, and instead of data value I would mention the name, which is today. So this is the status of all the milestone as of today. Now, since we have the milestone with different status, some of the milestones are already completed, some are in progress, and some are delayed and not started. So if I want to have a dynamic colors basis the uh, the status of each of the milestone, how can I achieve that? So that can be done with the help of a measure. I will go to my data view. and I will create measure. So through the measure, first I will be splitting the duration to with the project completion status. So duration would be separate for each project status. Currently, we have a common duration column which is appearing for all the statuses. I would be splitting this into 4 parts basis the different status of the project. For that, I'll go to measure, create a new measure. I'll name this measure as duration completed, and here I'll be using if function, if ERP. So for that, first I will use the expression which is, let's say, minimum. ERP project status is equal to completed. If this is correct, then sum ERP project duration. Now this is for the completed status. Now I'll create a separate duration for different statuses. I'll copy this and I'll create a new measure. Here I will write in progress. Enter. Similarly, I'll create the measure for delayed status. And at the end, the measure for not started status. Now I have created a separate measure or separate duration calculation for each milestone status. I'll go to add data option. In x-axis, I will add all these measures. And now I have calculated or I have updated all these measures basis the milestone status. I won't be needing overall duration column, so I'll remove that. And I will now go to the format. I'll select my visual. In format, I will go to bar and I'll change the color. For completed, I'll be using a green color. For delayed, I'll be using red color. For in progress, I'll be using yellow color. And for not started, I'll be using a gray color. I would also add the data label here. For that, I will, I'll add the data label. So this would show the duration for each of the milestone. And I would also change the tooltip here. For that, I'll go to tooltip. I have already added the start date. I will also add the end date as well. And I'll rename this to end date. So if I hover on any of the milestone, I will get the start date and the end date information. I will also add a status of each of the milestone in the tooltip. So for that, I will select, I will add data, scroll down in the tooltips. I will add the project status as well, and I will change this name to status. Now if you hover on any of the milestone, it will give you the duration, start date, end date, and status of each of the milestone. Now we will add a customized legends in this Gantt chart. For that, I will go to insert, I will go to shapes, and I would add a rounded rectangle. I'll move this here and reduce the size, and I would add the text here. In text, I will enable the text and I will write completed. I will bold this and increase the size to 12. I will copy these shapes and paste it to create the duplicate and do it for all four status types, and I will change the text in all these cases. And now I will change the color. For that, I'll go to fill. For completed, I will use green color. For in progress, I will use yellow. For delayed, I will use red color. And for not started, I'll be using a gray color. I'll select all these rectangles and I will remove the border. Since these are a long duration project, so we can also add a month separator. Just like today's constant line, we can add a month separator line in the Gantt chart. So this can be done with the help of a measure. For that, we'll have to add a new measure. I'll have to go to data. I'll create a new measure, and here I would write the name as month 1. So here I will be calculating the difference between the month and date and the date when the project was started. Since the project was started on 2nd of June and the month and date is 30th of June, so the difference would be the date or the day when I have to place a line or a month separator. I'll be calculating first the month and date. For that, I'll be using end of month DAX function. My start date would be the project beginning date. That would be minimum, calculate minimum, and then would be ERP project start date, all, and then table, ERP table reference. So this is my start date, and since we have 50 days and this is the first day, first month only, 1 month only, so I'll put 0 here. I'll close this, and here I would enter the minus the month start date. So this is the month end date, or I would say the project beginning date. So that would be calculate. Since these two are dates and I need the result in whole number, I would be using integer function. I'll hit enter. Now just like the today line, I'll be using a constant line. For that I will go to format, and I will go to reference line, and I will add second line, and I will change the type to constant line, rename the constant line to, let's say, the June month, June 23, and go to FX, and here I will be selecting my measure, which is month 1. Click OK, and here I would add the data label, and in the data value drop down I'll select name. So you can see the month separator is also appearing here. So friends, this is all about the Gantt chart which we have created from the bar chart. I hope you have learned and understand how to convert a normal bar chart to a Gantt chart. I would be saving this example in the description field of this video. You can download this example and practice the scan chart. And in case you have any questions and queries, please feel free to send all your queries through the comments field, and I'll respond to these queries as soon as possible. Thanks for watching, friend. Thank you. Bye bye.